Hello and welcome back to Proactive New York. Joining me today is Gerald Commissiong, CEO at Todos Medical. Gerald, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great. Thanks so much for asking. Gerald, lots to get to today. Let's first talk about how the coronavirus Delta variant is really contributing to a rising caseload of the virus here in the US. The last time you and I spoke towards the end of April, the company had begun its phase 2 clinical trial to treat patients in Israel. So how is that coming along?
It's coming along now quite well. So, we'd enrolled, several patients, and then, Israel at some point had really low case numbers. And when they had really low case numbers, that made it difficult to recruit patients. But, unfortunately, with the news last week that they're starting to see a rise in cases, and that even among those that are vaccinated, they're seeing a rise in cases. There are now more patients back in the hospital, and so recruitment is picking up again.
That's good to hear. And just remind us about your therapy.
Right. So we have a therapy that we call Tolovir. It is effectively a concentrated version of a dietary supplement that we sell called Tolovid. Tolovir has two actions. One, it has a very, very robust anti-3CL protease activity. Just a reminder, the 3CL protease is an enzyme that is absolutely critical for coronaviruses in the category of SARS-CoV-2 to replicate. So you actually need 60 particles of 3CL protease for every one virus particle. And within every cell can create up to 100,000 virus particles. So you have to have a ton of 3CL protease if this virus is going to replicate. And when you inhibit that 3CL protease, you inhibit the ability to replicate. And then separately, there is also within the Tolovir capsule, there is a strong anti-cytokine storm, anti-inflammatory activity that is from the traditional Chinese medicine side of that compound. And that we've seen in hospitalized setting reduces the symptoms. So we're both going after the virus and making sure the virus doesn't invade the body. And then once the virus triggers, a cytokine storm, we also have an anti-cytokine storm activity with that therapy.
You mentioned Tolovid, the dietary supplement. Recently, the company was granted a new certificate of free sale by the FDA for a second dosing regimen of Tolovid. Can you just talk us through what that means?
Sure. So we can't make any therapeutic claims with respect to Tolovid, but we can say that it, supports the immune system, which it certainly does. And it does it via this anti-3CL protease activity, as well as with, other activities that the compound exhibits. So really that's for, if people aren't feeling well from a variety of different, ailments. Tolovid has been shown to help support, the immune system, and people start to feel better when they take it. And so that dosing regimen is really, if you're, not feeling well. So you take 12 pills a day for 5 days, very similar to a dosing regimen for like a Tamiflu over a shortened duration. Except we think that Tolovid obviously is a little bit more special than some of those other supplements. We are also getting ready to launch a Tolovid daily, which would be a twice a day, regimen that you would take kind of like your multivitamin supplement. This would be something that would help, support your immune system before you get sick, so that you could avoid, getting sick altogether. So those are going to be the two Tolovid-based products that we have in the market.
And where are you selling Tolovid, and are you seeing much demand for it?
So we sell Tolovid at the Alchemist Kitchen, which is a boutique store in New York, one of the leading herbologist-based stores. And then we also sell it online at mytolovid.com. There is certainly demand from people who are in the know. We have not gone out and marketed it especially heavily because we're now building up the resources needed to do a broader batch run and marketing campaign. We can fulfill thousands of orders, but we can't fulfill millions of orders. And so we're now in the process of building that bridge to being able to, disseminate more broadly.
And I know you are ramping up into a growth period here, and you are kind of beefing up your team here by hiring a corporate controller. Can you talk a bit more about that and kind of other work you're doing to prep for an uplisting?
Yeah, sure. So we, obviously as a, it's OTC company, and we were really a foreign filer. So we only had to make one filing annually since inception. While in 2020, we crossed over to the majority of the shareholders living in the US. And when that happened, that, basically put the company into traditional US reporting requirements, which means we got to file once a quarter. So, we worked with the auditors that we had, at Grant Thornton, to, fulfill all the requirements. And then we switched over to a smaller, more nimble auditing firm that was more right sized with, where we were from the stage of growth. But we brought in one of the former Grant Thornton auditors. She worked at Grant Thornton for about 20 years. She came in as our corporate controller to really put in place all the controls and other things that are going to be necessary as we get through this next phase of growth and get onto a more significant exchange. So really, it's really, addressing any of the, financial control questions that some of the exchanges may have or may have had. I think, this hire really solidifies that.
Gerald, really appreciate catching up and your time today. Thanks so much.
Thank you.